Before you marry him, you deserve to know who Joseph really is. Those were the words Joseph Steve's mother said moments before a projector screen rose beside the altar at his luxury lakefront wedding. In front of 200 guests, his own family accused him of cheating, manipulating his fiancée for inheritance money, and secretly living a double life. Photographs flashed across the screen. Hidden recordings echoed through the speakers. His fiancée slowly stepped backward, staring at him like a stranger. And standing there in silence, Joseph realized something horrifying. This was never about protecting the family. It was an ambush. A carefully orchestrated public attack designed to emotionally corner him into signing away control of a fortune his relatives had been secretly fighting over for years. But while his family believed they were destroying him, they had no idea Joseph already possessed evidence capable of exposing every lie they'd buried since his father's death. What happened next turned that wedding into one of the most savage family betrayals imaginable. Viewers, what's worse, losing money, losing love, or discovering your own family planned your humiliation together? And if betrayal pushed you to your breaking point, would you walk away quietly, or expose everyone publicly? Why? Before we continue, please subscribe, like and share. My name is Joseph Steve, and before my wedding collapsed in front of 200 guests beside a private lake outside Houston, I honestly believed surviving betrayal had made me impossible to break. I was 36, a commercial architect specializing in luxury hotels, the kind built for wealthy strangers who wanted beautiful views while hiding ugly secrets behind marble walls. Maybe that was why I ignored the warning signs inside my own family for years. The morning of the wedding looked perfect in ways that now feel almost threatening when I replay them. Sunlight bounced across the lake behind the ceremony platform. White flowers floated beside the dock. Violin music drifted through the cool air while staff hurried around carrying champagne buckets polished so brightly they reflected nervous faces like mirrors. My fiancée, Alina, kept holding my wrist tighter than usual whenever relatives approached us. At the time, I thought she was emotional. Looking back, I think she sensed danger before I did. My mother arrived nearly an hour late wearing cream white despite Alina specifically begging everyone not to. She kissed my cheek coldly, then handed thick leather folders to my brother and aunt without realizing I noticed. That single moment dragged me backward 12 years, to my father whispering inside a hospital room, "Never let family corner you publicly, Joseph." I should have listened. Guests kept smiling while tension spread quietly across the venue like smoke nobody wanted to acknowledge. My brother stood near the projector screen pretending to joke with relatives, but his eyes kept drifting toward my mother. I recognized that look immediately. Years earlier, after our father died from a stroke inside his office, my brother wore that same expression while convincing everyone I caused the collapse of the family construction business. The truth was uglier. Our father secretly gambled company money for nearly a decade, borrowing from dangerous lenders while maintaining the image of a respected businessman. I discovered everything only after settling millions in hidden debts using savings I never told anyone about. Alina touched my arm gently and asked whether I was all right. Before I answered, my aunt suddenly tapped her champagne glass repeatedly until conversation stopped. Her smile looked rehearsed. She announced the family needed honesty before the wedding could continue. 2 hotel employees wheeled out a projector beside the altar while guests exchanged confused glances. Then my mother opened one of the leather folders slowly, revealing photographs with my face printed across every single page there. The first photograph showed me embracing a woman outside an apartment building downtown during heavy rain. Murmurs spread instantly across the audience while my mother lowered her head dramatically, pretending humiliation physically hurt her. More photographs appeared beside expensive hotel receipts and printed wire transfers carrying my name underneath them. Alina stared silently at the screen, waiting for an explanation I could not safely give publicly. The woman in those photographs was Nadia, someone my family intentionally framed as my secret lover. 6 months earlier, Nadia escaped an abusive marriage connected to one of my uncle's longtime business partners. I helped relocate her quietly because her husband hired investigators to monitor relatives, co-workers, even church members. She stayed temporarily inside an apartment I secretly paid for until lawyers secured protection orders. Only Caleb knew the truth because he helped move her safely during the middle of one terrifying night. My brother stepped forward confidently, explaining that I manipulated Alina while maintaining another relationship. Guests watched me carefully, searching my face for guilt. Then the projector displayed airline tickets and hotel bookings connected to Nadia's name. Suddenly Alina whispered softly, asking whether my entire relationship with her had been carefully fabricated from the beginning. Before I answered Alina, my uncle demanded everyone remain seated because additional evidence still needed reviewing publicly. The projector screen flickered briefly before audio recording started playing through hidden speakers surrounding the lake. My own voice echoed across the ceremony platform, discussing inheritance money and future property access after marrying Alina. Hearing it nearly stopped my breathing completely. Guests reacted immediately, whispering accusations while several relatives nodded like they already expected betrayal from me. Alina stepped backward slowly, removing her engagement ring halfway before freezing uncertainly beside the flower arrangements. My mother approached her dramatically, pretending compassion while secretly enjoying every second unfolding before the audience. I noticed details others missed. Certain words inside the recording sounded unnaturally clipped, as though somebody stitched conversations together digitally. That realization dragged me backward toward a memory involving Caleb. 3 years earlier, Caleb exposed forged insurance documents created by one of my cousins during a business dispute. Since then, several family members openly hated him because his testimony nearly destroyed their reputations permanently. Caleb specialized in forensic audio restoration and taught me how manipulated recordings often contained microscopic pauses between edited phrases. Then I noticed something terrifying. Caleb's chair beside the altar was suddenly completely empty without explanation. I left the ceremony platform immediately while relatives shouted accusations behind me. Inside the reception hall, waiters avoided eye contact as though somebody instructed them carefully beforehand. I checked my phone repeatedly, but Caleb still ignored every call. Fear slowly replaced confusion because Caleb would never disappear voluntarily during something this serious. Near the kitchen entrance, a nervous server quietly stopped me and whispered that security escorted my best man outside nearly 20 minutes earlier. That information changed everything instantly. Caleb once warned me my family treated humiliation like warfare. Whenever somebody embarrassed them publicly, they retaliated patiently instead of emotionally. I remembered him saying those exact words after exposing financial fraud involving my cousin years earlier. At the time, I dismissed his concerns because I desperately wanted peace inside the family again. Then my phone vibrated unexpectedly. One unread message from Caleb finally appeared across the screen. "Do not sign anything today." I stared at those words while memories surfaced rapidly. Weeks earlier, my mother repeatedly asked unusual questions about property ownership, inheritance structures, and emergency legal transfers involving my grandmother's estate. Suddenly the leather folders near the altar made horrifying sense. This intervention was never truly about morality. It was about leverage, power, and public emotional blackmail against me. When I returned outside, every guest turned toward me simultaneously. My mother walked forward carrying legal documents while my brother positioned himself beside the officiant confidently. She explained the family simply wanted reassurance before allowing the wedding ceremony to continue peacefully. Then she handed me property transfer agreements alongside temporary power of attorney forms connected to several family-owned buildings. Everything finally became clear. Months earlier, my grandmother quietly transferred ownership of important properties before dementia symptoms worsened unexpectedly. She trusted me because I managed her medical care privately after discovering relatives secretly withdrew money from her accounts. Only 3 people knew those transfers existed: my grandmother, myself, and my mother. Now they were cornering me publicly, hoping humiliation and emotional pressure would force immediate signatures before lawyers or witnesses questioned anything carefully. My brother leaned close enough for only me to hear him. "Sign everything," he whispered calmly, "or lose Alina permanently tonight." For several seconds, anger nearly overwhelmed my ability to think clearly. Then Alina unexpectedly stepped beside me instead of away from me. She studied the paperwork silently before asking one strange question. "Why are there videographers recording signatures instead of filming the wedding ceremony?" Suddenly my panic disappeared completely. I finally understood why professional cameras surrounded the ceremony platform from unusual angles throughout the afternoon. Those men were not wedding videographers documenting memories. They were legal witnesses hired to capture my public consent while emotionally compromised. My family expected humiliation to weaken my judgment enough for signatures carrying devastating financial consequences afterward. Instead, Alina's question forced me to slow down and observe carefully. My brother noticed the change immediately. For the first time that day, genuine nervousness crossed his face. I asked the disc jockey whether another device could connect to the projector system temporarily. Guests exchanged confused looks while my mother interrupted repeatedly, insisting the ceremony continue without unnecessary distractions. Ignoring her completely, I removed a flash drive from my pocket and approached the projector operator myself. 6 weeks earlier, after noticing suspicious calls between my mother and a private investigator, I hired cybersecurity analysts quietly through one of my hotel clients. At first, I only wanted protection against potential financial sabotage involving my architectural company. I never imagined surveillance footage from those investigations would eventually save my marriage publicly. As the flash drive connected successfully, my brother moved toward the projector hurriedly. Then the first hidden video appeared across the enormous wedding screen behind us. The footage showed my mother, brother, aunt, and uncle sitting privately inside a restaurant conference room 3 weeks earlier. Their voices echoed clearly across the silent venue while guests watched in complete disbelief. My mother explained how public humiliation would pressure me emotionally into signing property transfers quickly before questioning anything carefully. My aunt laughed while discussing ways to embarrass Alina publicly enough that she would demand immediate compliance from me. Then another clip appeared. My brother admitted portions of the inheritance paperwork were already forged because he believed I would eventually surrender rather than expose the family publicly. Gasps spread through the audience while several relatives stepped away from my mother instinctively. Even my brother's wife looked horrified listening to conversations she apparently never knew existed. Years earlier, after our father's funeral, my mother gathered everyone together promising family loyalty mattered more than truth. That sentence shaped every manipulation afterward. She convinced relatives protecting the family name justified lies, intimidation, stolen money, even emotional destruction. Watching those recordings publicly exposed shattered the image she spent decades carefully controlling. My mother suddenly demanded the projector shut down immediately, but guests ignored her completely now. Then Alina turned toward my family with cold disappointment filling her expression completely. For years, I convinced myself silence preserved peace inside broken families. I tolerated lies after my father died, accepted blame during financial scandals, and secretly paid debts created by relatives who constantly portrayed themselves as victims publicly. Standing beside the lake while recordings exposed everything finally exhausted whatever restraint remained inside me. I picked up the microphone slowly. Nobody interrupted. The entire venue felt frozen beneath the evening lights reflecting across dark water nearby. I explained how my father's gambling addiction nearly destroyed hundreds of employees financially before his sudden death prevented criminal investigations completely. I described discovering hidden loans attached secretly to my name, then paying them quietly because public exposure would have destroyed innocent workers depending upon company salaries. My mother avoided eye contact while relatives stared at her uncertainly. Then I revealed how family members stole money from my grandmother during her medical decline, assuming confusion prevented her from recognizing missing funds. Several guests looked visibly sick hearing details they clearly never expected during a wedding ceremony. Finally, I looked directly toward my mother. "You taught everyone family means ownership," I said calmly. "Tonight you learned loyalty cannot survive manipulation forever." I placed the microphone down gently and started walking away from the altar beside the lake completely. Most guests believed the wedding ended the moment I walked away from the ceremony platform. Whispering spread everywhere while relatives argued loudly near overturned chairs and shattered champagne glasses. Then something unexpected happened behind me. Alina picked up the microphone calmly and asked the officiant whether he was still legally prepared to continue the ceremony that evening. Complete silence followed. When I turned around, Alina walked toward me slowly with tears filling her eyes. She admitted she nearly believed every accusation earlier because my family presented everything with terrifying confidence. However, watching them manipulate humiliation so strategically reminded her of controlling relatives from her own childhood. Instead of leaving, she took my hand firmly before everyone. We married beside the lake less than 20 minutes later while several relatives watched from distant parking areas under flashing security lights. My mother left before the ceremony ended completely. My brother attempted contacting me repeatedly afterward, especially once investigators started examining forged documents connected to the inheritance transfers publicly. 6 months later, Alina and I relocated temporarily to Charleston for a restoration project overlooking the harbor. Peace finally felt possible until Caleb called unexpectedly one rainy evening. His voice sounded unusually tense. "The investigator your mother hired," he whispered carefully, "was secretly working for somebody else too."